Interesting list of companies in the listed space. We did see that Mr. Nikhil Kamath going ahead and in fact buying that stake. That was earlier today. But I think Hormaz is standing by. He's joining in to tell us about some interesting data that he's picked up. Hormaz?
Well, in the same interaction that CNBC-TV18 had with Nikhil Kamath earlier this morning, he mentioned that he has, besides Nazara, he has a stake in other listed entities as well. So we tried to dig up some data, but before we get to those 4 names that we have come up with, here are some criteria that we have put in place. One is that all of this data that we are highlighting is available on the exchanges. 2, the data available on the exchanges is only for those stakes that are in excess of 1% or more. And 3 is that all of these stakes are in the name of Zerodha Broking and not Nikhil Kamath in particular. And lastly, a disclaimer is that there is a possibility that Nikhil Kamath may have a stake in other listed entities as well. Now let's get to those 4 names. And the first one is Federal Bank. And Zerodha Broking's name as a shareholder first showed up in Federal Bank in September of last year. Now that 1% stake that Zerodha owns is currently valued at around 350 crore rupees. Now since September of last year, shares of Federal Bank have risen close to 16%. Now the next one is RBL Bank, and it continues to remain in the news ever since Mahindra & Mahindra acquired a stake in the lender. And Zerodha also has a stake in the bank since December of last year. At least that is when the name showed up in the shareholding pattern. And that stake is valued at close to 180 crore rupees. And since December of last year, shares of RBL Bank are up close to 30%. Now, next up is BSE, where Zerodha Broking also has a stake. Now, their name showed up in the shareholding pattern for the first time in September of 2020. Now, that time they had a 1.6% stake, which they gradually increased to 3.5% as of June of 2021. Now, it remains at that level till date, and that stake is currently valued at close to 200 crore rupees. But the interesting bit is that since September of 2020, shares of BSE are up nearly 500%. And lastly is an interesting name on this list, and that is Car Trade Technologies, where Zerodha has a stake. Now, their name showed up in the shareholding pattern in March of this year. And interesting is also because that 1.2% stake is currently valued at 30 crore rupees, but Car Trade Tech shares are down nearly 70% from their IPO price. But since March of this year, the stock is up nearly 15 to 20%. Back to you.
Okay, Hormaz, thanks very much for that.